The son becomes the father, the father the son. This is all I can send you, Kal-El. It's not who I am underneath that defines me, but what I do. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Just because someone stumbles and loses their path doesn't mean they're lost forever. You're making me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I let my father die because I trusted him. Because he was convinced that I had to wait. That the world was not ready. What do you think? With great power comes great responsibility.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Kiwis and Comic Books. Now, we've got a really interesting discussion on tonight about upcoming events, putting on events, and why folks like us and others in New Zealand decide to actually get into, putting on pop culture events. And there's probably a whole bunch of reasons, but I think one of the main ones would be the fact that we like what we like, and so then we decide to share that with other people, and so that's one of the cool things about that. So Solomon, he's from South Zealandia, Ned Fantasy. Let me see, it was called Ned. I'm going to let him tell it because I've got a mouthful here. So Solomon, take it away, man, and give everybody a little bit about yourself. And
cheers for inviting me on the show. Number one, that's awesome. So I'm based in Timaru. We're about 2 hours south of Christchurch for those up north, and I run a nerd game gift shop, dessert bar, and lolly shop in Timaru. And we're putting on the South Zealandia Nerd and Fantasy Expo on the 19th of March 2024. So we've booked out the largest indoor venue in Timaru for that, so we can hold up to 2,600 people at any one time. And we're hoping to get between 50 to 60 store holders along to that. We're also doing a cosplay competition, and the first prize for that is going to be $500 cash. For a lot of events and in a lot of areas, there's a lot of people that really get into the cosplay and love doing the cosplay. But one of the things I've kind of noticed over the years is there doesn't seem to be a lot of recognition for the effort cosplayers put in. And for a lot of events and expos around New Zealand, Australia, the world, cosplayers are, they're there at the events and people love seeing them. But how much formal recognition they actually get, I feel, is a wee bit limited. So that's one of the things that we're wanting to do different with our expo is we're actually, giving cosplayers a bit more recognition and the recognition I think they deserve. And how we're going to be doing that is by public vote at the expo. So each person that gets a ticket comes through the door, they're going to be given a wee token. And we're going to have a lineup of all the cosplayers that have registered for the event, and people at the expo can vote for their favorite cosplayer. And, we encourage cosplayers to, put that effort in that they love going to, and, go around, talk to people and, see who comes out on top for that. So, yeah, it's a bit of fun. And really looking forward to it, and it's really big and scary. I've done a few events in the past, but this is by far the biggest event that I've been a part of or organised. There's a total of 10,000 tickets available over the 2 days, and yeah, really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping we get quite a few people there, and if it goes well, we'll definitely be doing it again.
Awesome. So I've got a message from Ross down here in who's a caricature artist in Wellington, based in Wellington, and he's just got a message here saying, he's contacted you the other day and will be applying for a table for the expo. So that's pretty cool. I've had Ross at our own event up here in Whangarei in the past, and he's awesome. You know, everybody enjoyed it. It's a real cool artist. Very quick, and if you don't know about caricature artists, those are people that make humorous looking cartoonish versions of yourself, right? And so, or anything else. And I think he's really good at it. It's top of the game as far as I can.
That would be absolutely brilliant. I've never seen a caricature artist like perform their skills in real life and in person for. So having somebody like that coming along would be really, really cool. And I mean, like, this is the thing is, like, obviously me organizing the event, I'm not going to be, I'm like, yes, I've got a game and gift shop here, but I'm not going to be having my shop at the event. That's not the point of it. So I'll be buzzing around the event the whole time, and I'm definitely keen on throwing some money at getting one of those done, because I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
One of the things is people don't realize that when you're organizing something on the day, you're so flat out that, like, you don't have you can't concentrate on anything but making sure everything's running well. And so I mean, it's really cool to be that having that shop there, and out of that you got to people that go there, they're able to come back and see what you guys are doing and be part of that culture again throughout the year, rather than it's just a one-off thing.
Well, I mean, this is the thing that I've kind of spent a bit of time thinking about, is the fact of what's the point of it? Like, what's the point in doing something like this? And what's the point of doing any of these expos and stuff like that? And I kind of feel that a lot of expos have become quite corporatized. They've become quite, it's all about the big this or the big that. Yeah. And one of the things that I really want to bring to this is, it's about the attendees, it's about the players, it's about it's about the store holders. It's about, because like the number of, because doing expos and stuff like that, for if you're a garage industry or you make all your own crafts and bits and pieces, going to an expo is one of those things where that's your chance to put your creative work out to the world. And I feel that the barrier of entry has got quite high in recent years. And that's something that I kind of want to, I want to lower the barrier of entry for creatives and artists and people that, they make various things, or they, they do their 3D printing, or they do their mini painting, or they, whatever it is. I want to provide a platform where people can bring their best, put in front of, a lot of people, but also have that good human relationship with other store holders, somewhere they can connect with other store holders and other craftsmen to kind of improve on their skills, get pointers, see what everybody else is doing. Bring that community spirit back to the community. And that's one of the, it's, I've got our shop name and stuff like that, but it's not about my shop. It's not, and that's why I'm not going to obviously have one there. But it's also one of those things where making it affordable for artists to have their artist spots, making it easy, because like I've been to a couple of expos myself, and you're looking for a 3x3 meter store, you're looking at over $1,000 most for a 2-day event half the time. And that's where I really wanted to lower the barrier of entry. So we're doing ours for just, if you are, you're a garage industry, you're a home industry, or you're a brick and mortar business, we're doing ours at $150 plus GST for a 3x3 stall. If you're an artist, I think we're doing it at $50 for a 2x2 or $80 for a 4x4 size store. Just to allow people to like bring the market aspect to the expo to the front, and that's kind of where the main focus is. In addition to the cosplay competition and stuff like that, the other thing I want to do is set up like between 80 to 120 seats for trading card gaming. So we're going to have the game plan at the minute, all going well, is I want to do a winner box competition for Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, whatever other trading card games people want to bring to the front, and that's if you want to get involved in that and you want to get involved in that competition and you want to bring your skills. No, it's not going to be an official competition or anything else like that with the trading cards, but it's still just door entry like that. Like obviously you will have to go through the register for the event, let the organizers know what card decks and stuff like you're bringing, but that's all built into the price, and this is where I'm wanting to bring it back to grassroots. Other things that I think would be really, really cool is I'd love to set a couple of decent sized tables for your tabletop wargaming. So run two tables with a King of the Hill kind of situation, because especially in Taro, there's not a lot of nerd going on in Timaru, right? It's we're a provincial town. We're halfway between Christchurch and Dunedin, so we're right in the middle between the two big centres in the South Island. But there's not a lot going on. And when I was a teenager growing up, I heard about Warhammer and I heard about tabletop war games and stuff like that. And for me, I just wanted to see it. I just wanted to see it take place. And that's one of the things that I want to do at this event is have like two decent sized tables and, invite people that do Warhammer or Flames of War or whatever it is to come and play, whether it's a one-day game or an extended 2-day game, depending on which table, so people can actually see what it is. I'd love to also organise a couple of D&D tables and tabletop role-playing games just so people can spectate that kind of stuff as well. Really, educate the public on what being a nerd is, what it looks like. It's not just this or it's not just that. It's all-encompassing, and there's a fandom for everyone out there.
Right. So with this, with the actual shop here, right, when did you guys set up the shop?
So we are at 82 Stafford Street. So we're in the south end of Stafford Street. So we're in a wee store shop. We're just a small shop at the minute. So we're only 67 square meters, but we've crammed. We've got a lot of efficiency out of the small space we're in. So we've managed to set up permanent. We've got trestle tables that we bring in for the D&D campaigns, the Pathfinder games.
What I meant was when did you actually set it up itself? Not set up the shop, but when did you start the shop? Sorry.
Oh, when did I start the shop? So I actually started. I had a nerd cafe pre-COVID. So I started that about 2.5, 3 years before COVID. And then COVID rolled around, and because we had 3 to 4 permanently set up D&D and trading card game tables. We had at our max, we had 25 old school arcade machines, and we had a cafe, and it was just a lounge. It was just a nerd lounge, basically, with wedges and thick shakes and stuff like that. It was groovy. And then COVID happened, and there are a lot of businesses that didn't survive COVID or the aftermath of COVID. So we were in that list. So it took me a few years to get back on my feet, but I started this up 15 months ago. So we had a wee break there, but I saw the benefit that the nerd community is probably the most wholesome and accepting community I've ever come across. No one cares. Probably the coolest thing you see is, you'll have the And nerds aren't who you think they are. This is one of the cool things that I find is nerds aren't who you think they are.
Yeah.
The amount of times, we've had, D&D and we've had 6 to 8 people around the D&D table. And, there's the guy that's got, medical issues and, he survives on the benefits. Sitting right next to the architect or the accountant or the lawyer who's pulling in, $80K a year.
Yeah.
They don't care because they're both sitting at the table fighting dragons and monsters together.
Yeah.
And it's the most wholesome community I've ever seen. And that's what I absolutely love about it. Nobody cares
a lot of
outside the table.
Yeah, a lot of outsiders don't understand that because they see they just see whatever the media wants to show people. Like when you talk about like the lawyers and architects, the guy that got me interested in like Warhammer, even though I never actually started playing it, but I watch all the watch the animated movies and the movies and so on. But it was a dentist, right?
Yeah.
And how much dentists earn. But he's the one who said, here, I'm into Warhammer. Here's, the White Wizard or whatever the friggin' magazine was, White Dwarf. Here's the magazine. Check this out. And like trying to get me into it. And then he's like, oh, and by the way, I'm going to England. I'm like, oh, cheers, mate. So, but I've still, 20 years later, I still have his magazine sitting there for the day he comes back and goes, do you still have my magazine? I go, yeah, still got your magazine. And, Nick,
mate, that's so cool.
Because, I mean, the thing is, with like the great thing about Warhammer itself is that there is a huge uptick because of interest coming from those who like Henry Cavill, right? Those who like The Witcher, those who like Superman. He's going to bring this huge new element to 240K that I'm hoping that will grow it without any silliness brought in by these new people, but people come to enjoy it. I mean, like I've been trying to chase up the friggin' game on it's here somewhere on PC for 40K, and I finally found one last week, man. I was like so excited. Because they're like really expensive, right? Like someone like me who buys like freaking $3 DVDs isn't going to go and pay $80 on a freaking game, right? But now I get, I get to chuck it on the PC and play by myself when I have time. But the great thing is, right, like just like yourself, right, there's a store now in Whangarei in John Street here, which 3 of my friends, right, have put together who have been doing Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and all that stuff and Flesh and Blood for the last 8 years, have now set up with Card Merchant as a franchise.
Card Merchant,
and the 4 of them basically, 3 of them got together and decided they're going to have their shop now. And now, one of them is employed there now, and the others are working full time while the shop is running. And now they're able to have like 60 people or more every week. Several times a week, right? They're gaming all the games you just named, and like you said, then there's people coming in with dropping $120 on a box of cards that you wouldn't look at them and go, okay, and then and I'm like thinking, wait, what? Oh yeah, there's $300 more. But seriously, you're not a guy who goes to school. You earn a lot of money here. And so it's really good to see, see that whole young and old, professional, non-professional, or whatever, like salary worker, wage earner, sort of all together, because they love this medium and gaming. So how did you, with the card, like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, when did you yourself get into that sort of things like this? Or did you get into gaming?
So it's I'm a bit of an interesting one. So as far as particular games, my potion of choice is definitely Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
But I absolutely I've never actually played myself. I've never actually played tabletop war games before myself. Right. I've never actually. Now I've facilitated people, having games and stuff, but I absolutely love the lore And like, yeah, you've got all the YouTubers who deep dive all the Warhammer 40k lore, and I absolutely, fell in love with that. Growing up, I played a PC game. I came across it when I was 13. It was called Dungeon Siege. I don't know if you remember that one, but it's that now that I'm older and I know what Dungeons and Dragons is, I'm looking at the Dungeon Siege game that came out in 2001, 2002, and I'm like, oh my god, they stole the whole thing out of the player's handbook, and it was great. But I also played this little. It was a bit of a niche game, and I haven't found too many people that know it. Freelancer, which came out. It was a space fighting. It was just full story mode, just first person space shooter, and that's kind of where I really fell in love with computer gaming and stuff like that. Now, as I got older, I started working with, youth groups. I started doing, a bit of community work here and there. And I saw that, there's a lot of disconnect in the community as a whole. And Timaru hasn't had a youth center or a youth facility. There was no, internet cafe. Yeah, man, that's no teenagers. Oh, bro. Oh.
Yeah.
That is dope. Yes. All right.
This is the great thing about YouTube and stuff, and you get to see what's out there and relive your life, your youth and so on, because someone out there is putting up stuff that that you're interested in, they're interested in. Like I remember playing Dragon Age, and then afterwards I was just not doing it anymore, but I still have the Xbox games and stuff. But like you're saying, like you're saying about youth work and stuff. So how did you get involved with youth work?
So I've got three brothers who are all autistic. They're all quite autistic. Now I'm if you can't tell, I'm diagnosed severe ADHD and dyslexic. So things like computer games and rolling dice on a table, that really hit it home for me, and that really grabbed my interest where a lot of other things just didn't. And I saw there was a profound lack of support for the likes of my family growing up in bits and pieces and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where I got to 15 and I'm like, I need something. Now, I disappeared into, audiobooks and YouTube and, playing Dungeon Siege and Freelancer and stuff like that. But as I got older, I was just like, that need's still in the community. And there wasn't any, there were bits and pieces that the local council did or local churches did, but there was no non-council, non-religious-based activities for the younger generations in Timaru. And I'm like, right, I needed this when I was 15, and I'm now in a position in my life where I can supply what I needed when I was younger. And so that's kind of where I view my role in life as one of a facilitator. I may not know everything about every fandom, but I can provide tables, I can provide chairs, I can provide the lights, I can provide the miniatures, the dice, all that. So it's other than the fact that there's so many fandoms out there, it's like I don't have the brain power to keep up with all of them. But I don't have to do that. All I have to do is provide a space where they can do that. And the way I pay for it is with selling, food, lollies, stuff like that. So that's how we pay for it. Like, running a nerd shop in Timaru is not a big money maker. I'll tell you that much. But the value to the community is like, oh my god, the social interactions. One of the coolest things I ever had was, we'd set up a new D&D campaign because we'd get a whole bunch of people going, hey, look, I want to start D&D. I want to get into this. Are there any games going? It's like, well, there's none going, but we've got 4, 5, 6 people that would like to play. well, I'll DM for a couple of weeks. Then, you know,
Yeah.
if one of you wants to take it on, we'll go from there. And I tell you what, the coolest thing I ever saw. Now, I don't go out to the pub very often. I use my entire social battery in the shop each day. But okay, there was one time this group of people, these 6 people that never met each other before, and, you know, they started playing D&D, and they'd been playing D&D for, you know, maybe 2 months. And I went out to the pub a Thursday night, and the D&D group was at the pub.
Right.
They had taken the community and the friendships they'd built around the D&D table, and that had translated into real world. And that, I'll tell you, man, that was the highlight of my week. That was just the coolest thing ever. And it's like, it covers my existence. That's all it needs to. And this is kind of where it stems back into like the expo is I see so many artists and so many creatives wanting to get their stuff out there, and they've got amazing talent. Some of the artists that come in here and show me their stuff, it's like, my God, like, you know, you see, you know, professional comic books and, you know, manga and stuff like that, and their art is as good, if not better, than some of the professional stuff I've seen online. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? Well, I work packing shell, and I'm like, how do we lift the tide to raise all these boats up? Because there's an amazing skill out there that's just not getting airtime, and it needs to. And most of these guys can't afford, you know, they can't go to a big expo and pay, you know, $600 to $1,000 for a wee stall.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. But if we can lower that barrier of entry, then maybe some of these kids and when I say kids, I'm some of the people I refer to as kids are older than I am. But how do we get these kids some airtime with their skills? Because it's amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I think a lot of times people don't realize the skills and talent that is in their community. And the only time a lot of, the talent that's doing themselves online, and the times that they can actually see it is when you actually have events like this, like a public events where they're around other people who have the same sort of like we call it pop culture, right? So it's like if they're into gaming, if they're into designing gaming, if they're into designing art, costumes, if they're into like sometimes we get stuff like teddy bears, people who actually design teddy bears and stuff like that, or dolls, or sew badges, or whatever they do. Or now 3D is a big thing, so you end up getting people who design 3D figures. And so you get to see the skills that's out here right now. And you're right, how do we lift them up and get them to where people acknowledge that there is the skill set, that there is this talent, and how do we get them to earn something from that? Because everybody needs to earn something from their art. And so having events like yourselves, and like ours, and there's so many others around New Zealand that in the last 5 years, I've seen such an uptick on the smaller sort of like venues and events, because of the same reason which everybody gives me, is that because the larger ones have become very more business orientated and more Hollywood orientated, where there's all about stars and idols, and rather than about what the community 100%. Needs. But that doesn't mean we don't need those big ones, because with the smaller ones, we can't invite like a $30,000 freaking superstar who needs to get his hotel paid, to get his food, his transport, his air tickets, all that paid. But we can provide what the community needs, which is social connections, and Absolutely. To lift each other and to know what's happening there. Like you said about the cosplay, that was a really good idea about the cosplay you said at the start, where everybody gets a ticket with somebody's name on it, and they go, "This is who I'm voting for," and they go in. And I can't think of anybody who's done that before at conventions. And so that's a really cool idea. You go in, you get something, and you go, "Yeah, I like this person." And there is, just like doing comics, and there is a huge uptick in cosplay, and someone who's has designed a costume for myself. And the time and effort it takes, the money. I mean, I think about $360 just for the material cost, you know. And the only thing I bought was sandals, because of course I had to look Japanese, and then also long, like a wig, because I don't have long hair. And so that was the only thing. Everything I had to sew, right? So it cost me $360 all up, and then the tens of hours of weeks of actually sewing my own costume. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, when you have that needs, you know, it's good to be rewarded for the effort you put in. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to show off what what you've designed. You want to look the part of your favorite character. Whereas mine was like a Blade of the Immortal Manji, right? Anime, manga, and live action. But a lot of people, like, you look at Flesh and Blood. I've got a friend who does Flesh and Blood, you know, cosplay now, and there is so much of an uptake on that as well because of that game, because of the love for that game, the trading card game. People are, you know, are out there doing cosplay for that. But then also, you know, then you got the, you know, you got the Disney characters, then you got the Marvel, then you got DC, but then you also have the movie characters as well. People like to dress up like their favorite movie, or TV shows like what is it, like the Winchesters, right, from Supernatural, you know, and you had all these characters. So it's a great thing to because cosplayers add a real physical value to events. You know,
huge. Like so many events and expos wouldn't be what they are without them. Like the few times I've gone to expos in the South Island, Christchurch, and Dunedin, like the absolute highlight. And again, this is just, you know, it's the grandeur of it, and of course I love Warhammer. But when you see like those guys walking through in their, you know, their 8-foot tall bloody Adeptus Astartes like outfit, and it's just awe-inspiring. And like those things have got to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think like it's one of those things where like because like I said, we're doing this prize for the cosplay competition. Now I don't want anybody going out and you know buying up lots of stuff and spending lots of money to try and win this prize. That's not what it's about. It's about, compared to, like you said, the material cost and the tens of hours, you know, hundreds and thousands of hours put into creating these things. This is, I suppose, the way I'm trying to acknowledge that community as a look. This doesn't pay for anything, but this is a actual tangible acknowledgement of we appreciate the cosplayers and the, you know, the flavor they bring to the community, and it wouldn't be the same without them. And this again is why I'm trying to. It's a nod, the way I see it. It's a nod to the community that I think is well overdue. Yeah,
we did I mean, you know, we do a regular plunge event, but like last year about this time, I think it was December last year. Last year we did an event in we co-ran an event in Auckland, which was an anime gaming and anime K-pop and gaming festival. Right, it was in Manukau at the event center there, and one of the highlights was when you look around and you see all these young kids dressed up, and you know, and in the characters they love and stuff, and then also like, you know, their parents seeing their kids getting awarded, because because it was a big event, like, and there was like, you know, hosted by a huge franchise, right, of stores, and so the prizes were in like that $1,000, $750, and so on, and you got these kids getting $500 or so on for their prizes. They're like blown away. Not only that, they got a freaking trophy that was like, you know, like a kg weight, and I'm like, holy hell, you know, I would love to have won that, you know, into an event and won that. And I would have, because I was so well done up, because I know how much time I put in. But it was great to be on the stage with my friend, you know, Lynette, who was like, you know, and also, gosh, I can't remember his name. It's going to kill me. But the two guys, right, they helped me, you know, help us. Like they were running the actual thing, and I was just being the MC with that. But like, the two of them just did a great job choosing who was, who they thought was really well. They spent the whole weekend, like time out with them and like going through their, talking with them about their costume, what materials they used. We had a guy a young kid who was underage because he was only 12. It was 13 and over. And so we actually decided there was so much effort that we let him in because he had made his chainsaw man out of cardboard, right? And he like all the mask, his blades, the chainsaw blades. It was so good, and I was like, "You need to be in," and he's like, "Oh, he's too shy. Please put him in." I rang up the brother. I said, "Look, man, dude, you got to bring him in tomorrow. We got to make sure, because we think he deserves to win because of the amount of time." And he hand painted everything, one thing is like, when you can glue gun and all that, and you're like an adult doing it or a teenager doing it, but when you're a 12-year-old kid putting together a costume and you're making it look as realistic as done, when everybody turns and goes, "Can I get a photo with you?" You go, "Oh, this is worth, rewarding." And I think that's a cool thing about these small community events. I haven't been part of the major ones, like the bigger events where they have the cosplay scene, but for the younger ones, the indie ones, I've been enough to know that like that really lifts up the family as well when you have young kids getting rewarded for the effort they put in. Like, not only just cosplay, you have artwork, kids who do painting and stuff, drawings and stuff, or it's sort of all sort of like, let's, because a lot of times parents saying, "Stop doodling, go do some work, and do this." But in time, when you see those doodles become something cool, and then you realize that there are people that will reward that effort, but also you can go into the bigger side of things where you can actually see their future, where the art can be on a trading card game, right, or on a cover of a book, or in comic books, or in animation. All those doodles the little 8-year-olds did, now is 30 years later they're working in these big companies. It's really great to see that and really reward that. I think that's like having these social events, indie events like yourselves, down there in Timaru, it's really cool for the community. What made you really, now, apart from what you're saying about like, because you come out of wanting to do it for the, doing it for the, for the youth work and what wasn't there for you guys there, has there anything apart from before you stood in your shop, was there anything like that around for group wise?
No.
Wow.
Okay. So there was, I'd seen the Warhammer shop in Dunedin. I think I don't even know if it's still there. And there were a few game shops in Christchurch, but there really wasn't, especially for this kind of stuff. And I think it's, like I said, it's the best community I found, and there's just nothing for it. There was no representation for it. There was no push for anything like this. There was a definite need for non-alcohol based entertainment in Timaru, 100%, but there was nothing like this even on the horizon as far as anything like that goes. And like when I was a kid, I had a bit of a dysfunctional background, and I had a artist who was my mentor growing up, and he was it wasn't big or like anything special as such. It was just that one person believing that, as a kid growing up, just having one person believing that what you're doing, that art, that story writing, because I finished writing my first novel when I was 16. I'm still editing that same book, but it was his belief in what I was doing that, gave me the willpower to actually, complete that. Yeah. And I've seen that time and time again, because one of the things that I'd love to, at the minute, we have a few people that, there's nowhere in town, especially in Timaru. Like the other day, we had 4 or 5 artists just come into the shop as a group, and they got whatever, and they just sat there for like 4 hours, and they're all 4 or 5 completely different styles of art, but they were doing it together as a group, and the stuff they were coming up with was really cool. And in that kind of thing, one of the things I'd love to set up in Timaru is a creatives makerspace,
Right.
for and provide, because again, my big thing, I suppose, the social consciousness that I've got is in regard to barrier of entry, because you know I came from a not a well-off family, and there were so many things as kids it wasn't an option.
Yeah,
and one of
you
the
can
things
afford it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like mum and dad couldn't
Yeah.
afford it. It wasn't even a priority.
Yeah.
But there were things that I was interested in. And like again, it comes back to my mentor when I was a kid. Well, like my parents didn't have enough money for, you know, us to paint or draw. Like we didn't have enough money for, like, color pencils and shit like that. It wasn't a thing. It was via my mentor, who was an artist, that I actually got to do that stuff.
Wow.
And that's kind of where I view it this way, where if me as a shop can buy all the tools, I can buy all the paints, I can buy all the materials, and then, you know, let this talent out in the community. Look, you look, pay $5 or $10, you know, pay $5 an hour. And within reason, you can use as many of the tools and as many of the materials as you want, and you can create whatever you want.
Right.
Just allowing them to do it. So I like we talk about cosplay and stuff like that. You think about the core frame for a lot of the cosplay. Like that's where a lot of your resources and stuff like that are going. And I'm like, if we could set up a space where, you know, we could, you know, sell the core materials. Because like getting cool materials at a reasonable price is expensive, but because because I can get a wholesale account, I can actually allow these I can actually, because we sell food, I don't need to make margin on the material, so I'm like, I can actually get to them at a lower price, so they can actually make cool stuff, and that's kind of where I'd like to see this go. Like there's other things in there as well, but as far as the creator, like I said, there's just so much talent out there that deserves. It's not about deserving. It's that these kids need a chance. These people need a chance to actually let their inner creativity out in a supportive environment where they can, you know, have a shot. Because people don't get a shot at life anywhere near enough, and that's what I really want to bring to the forefront.
I find I look around myself, I'm surrounded by like stuff that I wish I had as a kid. And, you know, like growing up, and I came, you know, kind of like a middle lower income family. So, but like, you know, we had the basic needs, right? But like the luxuries, didn't have the luxuries, didn't go to the movies, you know, or so on. But we got to get it, you know, hire a DVD, or, you know, at that time it was VHS. But you were comfortable, but I mean, you couldn't go and spend $60 on a friggin' figurine that you wanted, you know. But every now and then would get, like, you know, special, you know, birthday time, you'd get it. And I remember, you know, when I started working at about 16, 17 years old, I could get access to whatever I wanted now because I had money, and now I could my whole, you know, my whole life was a different trajectory, you know, because I could go and get the books I wanted to read. I could listen to the music I could afford that I wanted to listen to. I could wear the clothes I wanted to, you know, wear, and I wasn't held back. And I think a lot of people don't think about how poverty holds you back from succeeding or enjoying life. And huge. I think when you, especially if you're an artist, if you can't have access to, say, you know, the decent materials, right, you're limited by what you have at your hand. But on the other hand, it does challenge you to be very creative, and that's why we see a lot. That's why we see a lot of people that come from poor backgrounds or low income, social income backgrounds are very skilled at you know, at making do with little. You know, like really, you know, that's why you see like little, you know, independent film creators coming out of New Zealand. They can make a huge thing out of very small things, you know, and it's really cool to see that. But I mean, you know, are you guys working with like other community event groups that are, you know, in Timaru to come to the event and support it?
Yeah, so we've got we've only had the event live for a couple of weeks now, and I think we're up to about, so for the event to be viable, we need a minimum of 28 stall holders. Now we're at about 16 stall holders, and we're only 2 weeks into this going live.
Sure.
So it's gone from concept to actually happening very, very fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we are getting some good support from people wanting to come along and stuff like that. As far as other community groups in like Timaru as such, there's a lot. I love Timaru, but Timaru is a little bit of a funny place. But again, this is small town New Zealand. There's community focuses in various areas. Like there's a lot of support for the elderly in Timaru. There's a lot of support for kids and stuff like that. And support for the disabled. There's all those really, really cool things. There's all the environmental projects and stuff. But there really isn't any. Basically, and again, I saw this, experienced it growing up, but also obviously working in this kind of field, I suppose, is it's almost like as soon as you turn 16, 17, 18, all those supports go away.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Unless
That's
you
normal.
go, as soon as you're out of, as soon as you can leave school, unless you're continuing in school or you're going to Polytech or whatever, there's not a lot of support in those areas, and there's not a lot of social and community support for those areas, because it's like, you're 17, 18, you're a school leaver, right? You have to go out and figure it all out yourself. And it's like, nobody, like, did we, bro, at 18, did we know what we were doing?
Not even at 20. Took a while. Like I said, I don't know what I was doing at 15, and I was pulled out of school, put into courses, and came out of courses for 2 years. And I was like, you're going to go to Auckland. You're going to go to Auckland. You're going to look for a job. Okay.
And this is kind of where it's pretty thin on the ground in Timaru, and probably New Zealand wide, to be honest, for the demographic.
I think that age, like school leaver and adult, right before your first job, there's nothing really there in the sense of support, like and I think because of this uptick in understanding, like understanding what pop culture means to people, right? What these interests mean to people has allowed communities see it's more than just going to the friggin' movie and going home. It's more than just picking up a book and putting it down after reading it. And I think that has, and I think that comes down from Armageddon, and because people see how much money that brings in, how many people go to it, and the financials, economy behind all of that, right? Millions of dollars go into all that each year, each event, and I think it's wisening people up, but there are still people who don't understand the need for this, right?
No,
and
you did right there. You did right there, and I think I definitely think there's an aspect of like we're getting into a point in society. And it's really cool, especially in the last 5 years. I think it's now cool to be a nerd.
It
wasn't 10 years ago, bro.
It's like watching it. Like everybody's a nerd now, is a fan of a nerd now, or knows a nerd now. Because of like Stranger Things has made D&D famous, right? It's like, okay, now Metallica's famous because they did that one thing. It's like we've been listening to that shit for about 30, 40 years, and now you think it's fun, now it's cool, but it's like it becomes laughable to a point. Like it's like I almost wish it wasn't that, I wish it was like leave us all alone, but on the other side,
I think it's go on.
Yeah, but on the other side of that is it makes everything cheaper, right?
It does.
And more popular. Yeah.
Example being, and I talk about this because we sell dice for D&D, right? Now, when I first started, all this probably oh gee, that would have been about, it was coming up 6 years ago. When I first started doing all this stuff, and, I'd buy in dice for, our D&D players.
Yeah.
We had like 10 colors of dice, bro. Like, that was it. Like, and now, like, you look and there's, like, I don't know if there's a retail shop in Timaru. If you were to just have one set of every dice available, I don't know if there's a shop in Timaru big enough to house just one set of each.
Well,
dice.
I mean,
It's amazing.
there's this really cool thing that's there's a friend of mine, like across the ditch, gosh, is it Andreas? But his name's, I think it's Andrew, but I think I always get his name mixed up. But I'm going to show you something. So he's a fantasy artist, comic book creator, right? But
That's cool.
so what he did, he's actually created dices as part of his, so he's at this level, he's able to crowdfund dice design that he's designed. So the reason I'm opening this up is because I want to show you that all these came with a dice. We didn't even notice, but they come with a dice, right? So talking about dice, you get a figurine now from the original, cartoon figure, animated figure, and you get a dice. Right.
Oh
so
my
now you have original dice as part of a figure, right? So you could probably use this as whatever D20. That's all I know about dice when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. So not only do you get, this is how popular it's become. Now you get to have a figure, and you get to have a weapon, but you also, you get the dice as well now. Like,
that is so cool.
It's amazing just how, I mean, even though we're accepting of, the whole geek and nerd culture and all these popular things, but yeah, this one, like, it still seems a bit weird that people don't understand how important it is for social health, mental health, how it works for people's well-being.
And I tend to have these conversations quite a lot because we get all sorts that come in here. Absolutely all sorts, all ages, all backgrounds. We get all sorts that come through here. And like we have some mad conversations sometimes, and it's great. But one of the things, and this is a conversation in particular that, and it's like I haven't started this conversation. It's been like 3 or 4 people that have come in and had this conversation. We've had this conversation about why has the geek and nerd culture really taken off, and it comes back to stories. It's storytelling. Yeah. Humans are intrinsic, like that. If you like close your eyes and you imagine sitting around a campfire with a bunch of people and listening to story, like that warms you up inside, man. And that's every human being, I think, has that primal need to sit and listen or be a part of stories. And I think, especially in the Western world, we've lost a lot of, our stories, like social story, where are the heroes gone? Where the Hercules and, where all these people gone? And the Western world, I think, socially has become very, very sterile. And I think all the stories that come out of the nerd community is kind of the counterculture to the, the Western world, where it's all, white picket fences and, the big career and the white picket fence and all this, all that carry on. It's so sterile. And I think the nerd community is where that community of storytelling is coming to life again. And I think that's why it's so important. Because growing up, it's kind of mum, dad, get off the computer, you're just playing games. And it's kind of like, I'm not playing games. I'm playing, Dawn of War 2, listening to these stories, playing through these stories. It's not a game. It's not a game. I'm absorbing and digesting an epic story. So, and I think this is one of the things that a lot of people still don't understand is, why is the nerd community blowing up so much? It's storytelling, and it's and the best stories, you know, they're gritty, they're tragic, they're inspiring, they're, you know, these heroes, you know, facing against impossible odds, and sometimes they make it, but sometimes they don't. But we love those two stories, you know, the heroism and the tragedy, and it's just, yeah, it's gritty and it's real and it's great. And I think it's actually really important for social health, encouraging storytelling. And I think it's something we've lost in the Western world, I think.
Well, I mean, like, I've got a friend, right, who's a horror and new adult sci-fi writer, and he basically has a tattoo on his back, right, which says "Art saves lives," you know.
It does.
And I think, you know, that's kind of one of the, you know, a lot of what community and adults don't understand of how surrounding yourself, being involved in art actually is beneficial mentally, right? So you know, it's once a community, you know, understands that art has to be a part of everybody's life, and why it's a part of that life, because like art is, you know, going to the movies and being entertained and learning a story, like you talk about storytelling, you know, and watching TV, you got all those people, the creative behind all the costume design, you know, all everything that's set up there. And then also, you know, you go to a museum, you go to a gallery, that's there. You open up a comic book, all the stuff that's behind there. Then you grab a figurine, and you look at all the design work that goes into creating that one character in the 80s is now has become so huge. So we're talking about dice just before. So this is Anthony. I always get his name wrong. Anthony. Gosh.
Oh, those are sick, man.
Yeah. So this is part of his, you know, designing different, dice for the games, because he's a fantasy artist. And I mean, these amazing, you know, work, and because these are professional, right? Like these are like made properly and stuff, and they all go in line with what he's created as part of his, you know, game, comic books and so on, the Luminous Age comics, you know. And so he's done amazing stuff here. So I'm gonna just share that with you guys on the link there, guys. If you guys want to check him out later. But like I said, I always get the name wrong. So it's Anthony Christo. But he's also on Facebook. You know, you can check him out. You know, especially if you guys are into fantasy and into D&D and stuff. You know, back his stuff when it comes up, because this guy, you know, he spent a lot of time and effort designing all these characters, and you know the work he's done there. But the dice has really blew me away. You know,
like I said, like 6 years ago, like I said, I could get my hands on, you know, maybe a couple of dozen colors of acrylic dice, and now, like, you've got the hollow metal dice, like bro, it's insane. It's absolutely incredible, and the creative talent out there is absolutely next level, because we're at a point in technology now that literally our mind is our only limit to the creativity.
Yeah.
And we've got all the technology. Like, we've got the technology to do 3D modeling. We've got the technology to figure out all these things. Yeah. Like, it's what we could actually do real world with the technology we have. We've actually got no idea. We actually have no idea what the limits on this are. And I think we'd be doing our species a disservice to hamper that creativity, and it's especially with the creativity of the young ones, like kids between 16, 18, 25, 30, like the ideas and the concepts are next level. And and I remember having similar conversations when I was that age. And at the time, it's just like, oh well, that's stupid. That could never happen. We haven't got the technology. We have the technology now.
Yeah,
we have the technology. Like the the sky's the limit. Doesn't work as a limiter anymore, mate. Like,
yeah, I mean, we're only limited by how much we don't want to learn, right? Like, I mean, you can just sit around do nothing all day, or you can get up and watch maybe something new on YouTube to learn a new skill. Like, I mean, like, like I've been saying, like I've just started playing, a year ago. I bought a bass, and so I'm just watching, bass tabs on being played from my favorite songs on YouTube. You got all these teachers from all over the world, whatever age. They could have been just started playing yesterday to when they've been playing for 60 odd years, and you get to watch them, do all these, play along with them, how, their skills. Whereas if you're in a town and you don't have anybody with the same skill, who are you going to learn from? But now you can learn from a master in freaking Japan, sitting there in a room playing a bass, and she's, all in South America playing all the tunes. And now you can learn from this master bass, musician, and all that skill. And then also you've got the other side, you can look at all these, toy designers and you can look at all the painters, anyone. There's no reason not to learn anything new. I mean, like in our day, like when you're 15, 16 in the 90s and 80s, you really had nothing, right? You only had what you had at school and what you had in your community, and there wasn't much, right? So a lot of time was wasted running around with your mates, and because you had no interest. I remember the opposite of myself was my friend. I can't remember his name, but like he had a computer, and he would spend time on his computer. We had a computer in our house as well, but the moment I sat on my computer and decided to do some coding, at that time, I wish my dad hadn't said it, because I'd be a coder right now. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing that for?" It's like, not really saying, because like he'd buy the magazines, right? This is codes from his magazine that I'm plugging into the Commodore 64. But it's his magazine, and I'm looking at the back of it, because at high school at 14, we were looking at the codes there. So I go home and go, "Oh, Dad's got this code, so I want to plug it in." And Dad turns and goes, "You just don't bother with that." And I'm thinking, if you had just said, "Hey man, what else do you want to learn?" I would have been, and I don't blame him, but that's what the attitude was then, right? In the 80s, mid 80s, when computers were a thing, nobody thought we'd been living on the friggin' computers, right? That computers would make our life so easy. And so 99% of the people were basically pushed away from computers. And those 1% that stuck with it and thought something great in it are now basically created this world we live in. All the Gen X's and stuff. I'm always grateful for my generation who created the internet, right? Because without that, my life would be so very small in knowledge, and not having a computer on my phone, not being able to talk to anybody around the world. That would not exist,
Correct. And I think this is kind of like where I want to take all this, like everything I'm doing long term is that's what I want to, you think about what's being taught in schools, what's being taught at politics and universities and stuff like that. And I see a lot of it as, and, I talk to, these kids, and they don't see the relevance in what they're learning. And I think this is kind of like I think this can evolve into is like creating a grassroots, idea, creative idea, entrepreneurial incubator, where it's just we can take these people that they don't fit into the mold, and that's perfect, because the only reason, like you said, the only reason we have any of this now is because of people that didn't fit into the mold. So if we can create an environment that fosters and encourage and pours energy into people that don't fit into the mold, mate, it's you think about how much has changed in 15 years, and if we actually encouraged these kids with these crazy ideas,
Yeah.
Like where we could be in another 15, 30 years, man. It just like that gets me excited, man. Like it's so cool. And I think it starts with, and like I said earlier, was it comes down to an encouraging word, encouraging these people to pursue this. Going, look, you've got some skill here. Keep going. Keep working at it. Oh, it's really not that good, is it? Yes, it is that good. And yes, you've got so much potential. Like, and that's kind of what I want to bring to bear here, is actually creating an environment that can foster and, you know, grow and encourage and develop whatever these people are wanting to do. Because like you said, it's only the people. If it wasn't for those 1% that, you know, was stubborn and pushed through with, yes, this coding is going to be something, because come hell or high water, I'm going to make it something. If we could encourage that en masse, oh my god, like it could be amazing for the world, and I love that concept.
It also like you know, going back to the whole art saves lives, is like it takes you outside of your head. You know, a lot of times people you know, get stuck in the brain, right? Like, I mean, I'm also on the neurodivergent thing, whatever. But so if I can get stuck on a thought, and if I don't pull myself out of that, I'm stuck on that for a while. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, youth at a young age, that's very easy to get stuck in, and it just plays over and over and over again. And that negativity just gets, you know, like a wet blanket, gets, you know, heavier and heavier. But the moment you have somebody say, hey, have you thought about this? You know, if this design isn't working, maybe you tried this. Have you tried this tool? Or there's some, you know, learn something from this. And if you get that different idea coming in there, that's positive, that can help you get out of that train of thought, you know, it's so beneficial. And I think events like ours, you know, like these little community events, what I like about it is how the social networking happens at the event. You know, where you can say, hey, mom and dad will say, oh, yeah, my son's been thinking about doing that, but he's not, I don't know how to talk to him about it. Or my daughter's thinking about doing this, cosplay. I'm not that, you know, I'm not into sewing. We don't even have a friggin' sewing machine at home. But my daughter's been at school, and they've been doing some sewing, and she's coming in, and she likes this Pokemon character or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, you know, or Spy versus Spy, you know, whatever, X Family. But I don't know nothing about that. I don't like anime. I don't like manga, but they do. And you seem to. Is there anywhere she can go to, you know? And this is how you know, these events work, you know. But when you have the bigger events, it's harder, right? When you have 40,000 people there, it's harder to connect on that level. I like, you know, I like the one-on-one, you know, at the smaller events, because you get to see and hear what parents are talking about, what kids are talking about, what is, you know, what makes them excited about what they're doing. And then you can say, well, go talk to that person over there, because like, I think that, you know, they might be able to help you. And then also that group there, they actually have events on that do painting courses, or, you know, or something. And now you're actually getting trained how to, you know, not only design your costume by someone who's doing the artwork, then you get to design, go and see someone who's sewing the costume, and then you go to see someone who paints the costume. Now you got everything sort of works into one event, you know, and it's just sort of the social networking grows the community much more.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think about, like, and I had this experience this week actually. Is like, obviously I do a bit on social media, and obviously trying to get all this up and running. And I had this artist who came into the shop with her mum. They were coming down from Christchurch. And I'm like, so how did you, you know, come across this? Did you find us on Facebook? Did you find us on, you know, TikTok? Where did you find us? And like, this was like, no, I met you like 4 years ago at Armageddon, when you had this tiny ass little store. And, you know, I've been like, you came up, and like, I wanted to, like, you're doing this other stuff. And it's that organic networking.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the things, especially for like people like yourself and myself, is we are, and it's a little scary to think about, we're actually setting the bar. We're actually setting an example for the next generation on coming up. And it's kind of, I was thinking about it today. It's a bit scary to think about because, as we work on this and we're doing this and we're doing these events, how we conduct ourselves is setting the example for the next generation of us.
Yeah.
The next us that comes along, where people like yourself and myself and others, like doing these nerd shops, doing these events, doing these activities and bits and pieces. It's where it's not just about the now. Like, it's not just about the expo I'm doing in March. Like, what I do at this expo impacts 10 years down the track. And like I said, that kind of hit home when this girl came in and, she'd met me at Armageddon 4 years ago. I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really cool. And
I get that all the time as well. Like, people will say hello and I'm like, hey, Aru. And I'm like, hi. I have no idea who they are because on the day I'm just friggin' like focused on making the event run well. But like you said, Justin totally agrees because that whole, it's, you don't know what, like, look, we're not going to be here forever. And that's always been my focus. Is like, I'm not going to be here forever. And so whatever I do, make it easier for the next gen like us, it's going to be somewhat, it makes it like, it kind of makes me feel better knowing that if I can make, like, because I'm involved in comic book creations, right? That's my main focus, even though we don't do the events and everything, but I'm all about creating comic books. So if I can make it easier for the next person to get comic books out from New Zealand into the world, that's my aim, right? Like, if I can connect them with my publisher, if I can see them working hard, if they get their work done on time, if they, like I say, 50-50. If you're going to do digital, make sure you do 50% physical, learn to get all that skill down, and make it easier for them to enter 10 years, 5 years down the road into crowdfunding, into, whatever they have, like covers, designing toys, whatever they have. Let's make it easier for them so they don't have to have the friggin' struggle we had at their age, because that's the worst thing you can have is like turn around and say, oh, you had no impact while you were here on the people that you could have helped, and that's kind of so whenever I see when we're at an event, right, we have our the high school students as volunteers, right? We reward them, we look after them and everything, right? But there are volunteers. I always go, look, I want you guys to take over from me, right? Once I decide to stop this, take over from me, because this is where you come to learn the skills. This is where you come to learn how to manage people, how to talk to people, how to organize stuff. And I would always take 1 or 2 people with me who I would say, who wants to hang out with me as my assistant for this event? Yeah. And, and they get to see how I talk, right?
Yeah.
From kids to adults, right?
Yeah, it's so important. It's something that's kind of been lost a little bit, I think, is like how many of us had a mentor growing up? I had one, but like mentorship and there were guilds back in the day, but mentorship was built into society, and it's not something that exists today. And I mean, like you said about the comic books and not us not being around forever and stuff like that. It's like that's huge because. And it's butterfly effect. You don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. Us, like you doing the comic books and me doing like the nerd shop and stuff like that. Like, we have no idea. We could be talking to the next Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And we don't know. And this is, and I think there's definitely quite a lot of responsibility and accountability between people like us that have taken on this leadership position a little bit. It's not just a case of us being our best for us and encouraging other people to do the same. It's no. Like that. Like that kid could be, you know, the next Stan Lee, or, you know, the next, you know, Jack Chan, or like whoever. And
Yeah.
I personally, like, yeah, it's daunting, but I personally find that really cool, because I'm like, it's, I suppose, inspiring for myself, and as far as I need to be the best me I can be in this community. Not for me. It's not for me. It's so that, like, these kids that go up, like, are coming up before us, that legacy of, they can look back at me like the way I look back at my mentor. Like, my mentor never did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Like, and that was cool. And then, from a family, like, everything was wrong. I could look back at the one person that never did anything wrong, and it's like, that's kind of like, we're paying it forward. We're paying it forward to the next generation. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. And I think I find that really inspiring and, like, really encouraging to, like, because, like, you'll know, you know, doing all this kind of stuff, it gets tiring, you know. It's us at the end of the day, and it's that's my encouragement. That's my pull through. That's my why of, like, getting through. Because, like, yeah, it's hard. Like this, like, you doing this podcast and the stuff you do, like, it's hard, but it's the way.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of mentor, just the positive mentoring that we don't see anymore, like you said, right? Because, and I think that has come down to the whole idea of, like, individualism that we have in society today. You know, like I'm doing my thing, and I'm going to get good at my thing, so that you don't have to challenge my thing. You know, so I don't have to have you as my challenge. So I'm going to be out here doing my thing, and I'm going to produce my thing, and I'm going to be, you know, I'm concentrating on my thing, you know. So we end up not helping other people because we see them as competition. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, well, you know, maybe if I help you, you probably help somebody else, and you'll help somebody else and somebody else, you know, the pay it forward thing, right? Because once you get a leg up, you can also get other people a leg up. But if you're not selfish, and that's what I mean, like, a lot of people are selfish these days because they wanna like, they're in it for themselves, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I turn around and I go, you know, look, I have this friend here who's helped me. I have that friend here who's helped me, and I'm hoping that friend will also help somebody, and so on and so on. And we grow a better, you know,
a rising tide lifts all ships. A rising tide lifts all ships. And, like, I love the way you're thinking, and I love the fact that, you know, there's somebody else who's, you know, on the similar wavelength. And the way I relate it to, it's competition versus collaboration.
Yeah.
And it's, if you collaborate, you're building strengths in a team of other people. You're not, you know, it's, you can't be an island. You can't be a one-person island. It doesn't work. We all know that one person that got, you know, really rich, and they're the most miserable person out there. And this is something that I've said in my mentoring is, if I'm going to climb the mountain to watch the sunrise, what's the point if I'm doing it alone? I'm going to if I'm going to climb a mountain to watch the sunrise, I want as many people climbing that mountain with me, so we can all enjoy it together. And it's about experience in the community, and it's cool. It's cool, man.
But the other thing is, like, when these events actually help branch out and inspire other people to create more stuff and network amongst themselves, right? So, like, I mean, like, if you look at this picture here, right, in front of us, like, this is my team, right, of volunteers and friends. So, you know, apart from Judy, who's like an amazing steampunk cosplayer, artist on her own right? Everybody here is, you know, is a volunteer and a friend of mine. So if you look here, Eads Kennedy is the guy who set up the shop, right? With his friends. And so then you've got Shane here on the right with a play school shirt. He's an artist in his own right, and he's just put his own comic book out, Chronicles of Wasteland, right? And so then you've got Mark Kelly here. He runs 5 Elements Media, and he was able to network with one of the guys who was doing our podcasting and interviews at the event. And now they have their own podcasting, you know, professional setup where they interview local artists, you know. And also then you've got Jason, who did our accounts, and he got into studying that stuff. And then you've got Lynette, who did our cosplay, and helped me actually design this costume, and we updated our character's costume. But she's a cosplayer for Flesh and Blood. She's got her own podcast now, and so she promotes that sort of stuff. So a lot of these folks here, have stepped out of just being on their own into actually deciding to benefit the community in the arts scene, right?
Yeah.
So you got a store owner, right? You've got a store owner. You've got an artist who helps run a arts like a monthly, bi-monthly library comic book making event, right, on a Sunday. Then you've got a guy who's helping the entire professional art scene in Northland with his podcast, and then you've got someone who's running the friggin' Facebook for Northland cosplays, and they've got about 400 people or something on that. So when you grab a group like that, behind them is a larger group of people that are also benefiting from that. And I think and so you're as strong as your team, really at the end of the day. And so and I think having a good team around you is very important. So who's around you with this event?
So I'm an incredibly stubborn individual. And as far as, I've got a few people around, and I've got a lot of people that are really supportive. I've got some amazing customers. I've got some amazing fans and some amazing supporters out there in the community. And whenever I do anything, I go whole hog. And it's one of those things where, like I said before, is I see my role as a facilitator. Right. So example being like, we've got the D&D, but I'm starting to build a team here who, there's, a couple of different creatives. They are each trying to do their thing. And like, if they make stock, I sell it in my shop. Now, they are, they've maxed out their skill tree in their craft. And the social media side, the business side, the sales and stuff like that, that's not their forte at all, but I cover that. So I've got a few different people, and we're starting to grow a decent group. I've got a couple of friends who are the professional expertise that come give me a hand and stuff like that. But as far as it's the old Wayne's World of build it and they will come is kind of my theory on all this. Is I've been out in the community long enough where now that I'm doing something of this caliber, I've got enough social equity for that support to come through, if that makes sense. And it's a lot of fun, but I definitely I'm the challenge guy, and as far as I'm like, right, we're doing this. Well, like, you two in a couple of years, I'm like, no, we're doing this now. And I just push through and I make it happen. So and I'm hoping as this develops, I think this could develop into something really cool, because the networking that will happen at this event is going to be huge. And it's a bit like how you're relating it to, music in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, is how many teenagers went to like AC/DC or Metallica, and then they went home, got up with a bunch of their friends, and now we've got, how many bands do we have now that are absolutely incredible? And that's the when I was saying before about the butterfly effect, this is it's not just about sure it was AC/DC, sure it was Metallica, sure it was Guns N' Roses. What that evolved into in the preceding generations, that's where it's at. And that's what I'm hoping this expo, the South Zealandia Nerd Fantasy Expo, is going to kind of bring to bear, is we're putting on an expo, we'll have all these stalls and these people selling stuff. It's the stories that come after that I'm really excited for. And as far as how many, like I said, that the person that came down from Christchurch the other day. She's like, she met me 4 years ago. I want to hear the stories of, those, the 10 kids who all met up because they did various cosplays, and I want to see what they create. And that's the more.
Yeah, so you're talking about like
cool.
people who heard music and then decided to go home and decided to get together and make bands. So this is a local band, New Zealand band that I just saw recently live, right? Shepherd's Rain. This is a Samoan band. I hope that's right. Yeah, I think Samoan band, right? Who does metal, right? And like thrash metal, which is my favorite genre. And so, these guys now are over, touring over in Australia, but you see, this, you get to see inspiration wherever you can find inspiration, and you get to, because people like this now at this age will be inspiring people in 10 years to do, upcoming musos, right? Because
absolutely. And it's stories like this that are this is my bread and butter right here, man. Like this is where it's at, and this is proof of concept. Like all the things that we're talking about, this here is proof of concept as what this can turn into, and it's especially and again, like I said, going back to social health, mental health, and stuff like that. How much does the creative arts, like you said, arts and sciences, how much of getting people in creative arts and inspiring them, how much could that improve the mental health of our youth in this country if this, we can show them that this is what's possible. You can create this, and us being a bit older can support these guys doing this going forward. And like I said, man, this is my bread and butter, man. This is what really fires me up on stuff like this. And
but,
this is what I nerd out over, bro.
Well, the thing is, when you see your own community flourish and be uplifted this way, that's inspirational. So when I turn around and see a New Zealand actor doing it really well, it's inspirational. It's like, yes, prop it up. If I see a New Zealand band that I think can be up there on the same level as Metallica or Megadeth, music-wise, I'm going to say, check them out. Because it's, you got to be out there supporting your community. And if you have people running events, you got to be out there supporting that event, because if you want to see more and more and more and happening in your community, you got to be behind it. One thing I do love about New Zealand and about our communities is that there is a funding body specifically for the arts, right? There's a whole lot of hurdles that you got to jump over, try to get there. And I want to talk about that next, right? So even though you got all these hurdles, you got to get there, you got to write the friggin' right words, you got to use the right terms, you got to know the right people. It is beneficial to even just go through the process, because it makes you think about what your aims are. So have you received any funding or any local kind of body, saying, hey, we like the idea what you're doing, and would we be, we'd like to help with this?
So this is an interesting one, and this is something that I've gone over for a few years. As not really, and as far as, because I wanted to. I've worked for charities, and I've worked for incorporated societies and stuff like that, and I've seen that, and it's I suppose from my earlier days doing youth work and stuff like that, I think a lot of that put me off, and as far as the charity side of things, just because the politics involved, and like you said, the hurdles. So when I started this, this was actually a reaction to a an event that took place where I was just like, look, we've got all this, we've got this going on, there are these resources available. Why don't we do this for youth? Why don't we create a place where they can go? Didn't happen. Never happened. And and stuff like that. And I'm like, right, I'm now fired up about this, and this is what I want to do with my life. And I put a whole bunch of money into getting it all going. And it was a big, one of those crossroad decisions where it's like, how was I going to do this? Because it was, if I'm going to put, $30,000 to $40,000 of my own money, and I'm, at the time in my, mid-20s, I'm like, I'm putting all this on the line, and if I set this up as a charity, then, if it all falls over, it was my money that bought the drinks fridge. It was my money that bought the tables. It's my money that bought the tellers, and stuff like that. So if it all falls over, if it doesn't work, because, Timaru's a small town, if it's in a charity, that'll get sold up. I don't get any of that back.
Right. And
there was none of that. There really wasn't that wraparound support to make it happen, so that if it fell over, I'd still be okay even after putting it on. So that's why I set it up as a company, as a limited liability company, because I'm like, right, if I'm putting my money into this, I want to get my money out of it, but I also want to follow all the rules. But because I made that decision, I'm not eligible to funding.
Right.
Which is so you see the it was a bit of a catch-22 in the situation that I was in. So now I've figured it out, and as far as I'm like, right, I can pay for my existence with selling coffees and milkshakes and ice cream and hot dogs and dice and stuff like that, and if I cover my existence, I'm good. The rest of it, it was funny because I had somebody come in the other day and they're like, you've spent an awful lot of money on, terrain and miniatures and this and this and this and this and this. And it's like, where's the economic benefit? You're a business. Where's the economic benefit? And I'm like, I don't care about the economic benefit of it. That was never the point. The point of it is providing those resources. Again, it's providing the resources that weren't available to me as a kid. Now, I'd like it covers my existence, and it's not amazing, but all the money that we get in from this goes straight back into it. So is it charitable? Possibly. Is it a charity? No.
I think a lot of people who are about the money, right, and are about getting ahead, don't understand if you come from a different way of thinking where you're like more, how do I benefit other people? And I think if you've come out from a social conscious, and this is a real social activism, right? Not just a fluffy crap that they do to get, to be seen as being activists. I'm talking about a real social activism where actually in your head, you're like, I do need to exist, but I also want to uplift other people. As long as I'm breaking even, I don't care, and I think a lot of people see that as if you're a loser, if you don't understand society, how the world works, and you need money to exist, and you got to have money all the time. They don't realize, and in a way, you do need money, of course, but a lot of time, I found myself in the same boat where I'm like, I just want to make sure that we break even and we have enough left over to do the next one, or to pay the bills. I don't really care if there's excess, whatever. And I think a lot of time people don't understand that because they're so used to thinking and profit. They always think about profit. If you're not making profit,
I think it comes back a little bit to what you were saying before about the hyper individualistic mindset, where it's all about me. And then when you're in a society where everybody's bred up on it's all about me, when they come across somebody that isn't all about me, it confuses the hell out of them, and they're like they don't know how to understand that. And it's got, you know, the NPC meme. You guys are you familiar with
non-playable content? Yeah.
And you're like and like epic NPC man. My running joke in the shop is I'll talk about all this stuff and I'll end the conversation with, but you know, that's okay. I'm just, you know, the eccentric shopkeeper NPC.x file, and like that. Yeah. That's how I close it out. It's fun, but it's like we live in a capitalistic system, and I'm not here to like bash on capitalism or whatever. That's not the point. Is people have got so tied into this idea, like you said, it's all about the money, it's all about the bottom dollar, it's all about, you know, the next vacation, and like, you know, I throw, you know, 60, 70, 80 hours a week into this, and people are like, Solomon, you need to slow down, you need to stop, you know, don't work yourself too hard. I'm like, I love this. Like, if I wasn't doing this as a job, I'd be doing this as a hobby. Like it's all me. So like you talk to a nerd about giving them the opportunity to, you know, spend, you know, 40 to 60 hours a week, you know, reading comic books, drawing comic books, or painting figurines. That thing, they're in heaven. That's this for me. But people look at it and they're like, but where's the money? I'm like, if I was in this for the money, I'm in the wrong business, my dude. Yeah. Like, I am so in the wrong business if I was in this for the money. But it's not even, I've pissed a few people off. They're like, you can make so much money if you were doing this, this, or this. I'm like, I don't care. It's not the point. And it confuses people because people, I think, we're in such a cutthroat society where everybody's one-upping each other.
Yeah.
When you come across somebody that doesn't care, it's you know, it's like my brain's going to George of the Jungle from it's just like you're just walking around. It's just like, I don't care. We survive. We live. If there's food in my belly and there's a roof over my head, I don't care. I've got nowhere else to be. I don't want to tour the world. I don't want to go on vacation. Like, if I go on a vacation, what am I going to be thinking about? Getting home to my computer so I can keep writing my books.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's a great thing about this, you know, being doing what you love, right? At the end of the day, you know, if you, it doesn't matter how much time you're spending on it, because you love the time that you're spending on it. So it doesn't become a chore. The moment it becomes a chore, you need to take a break, because otherwise you're heading for burnout. But I think especially like when you're, you know, when you're doing events like this, it takes a lot of, you know, a lot of behind the scene things that people don't see, a lot of time spent, you know, talking with other people that, you know, they probably don't even understand what you talk, you know, what you're trying, what your aim is. And so that the confusion comes in. It's like that parent going, I don't understand why my child is into this, but I'm sure there's somebody who does. And how do I put them together? You know, and that's what these events are like, you know,
don't get me wrong. Like on the, so we're the 9th and 10th of March, trust me, from the 12th to the 20th of March, I'm going to be sitting in a room by myself, drooling at the wall for a couple of days, because I'm gonna need some time out, man, after that.
Yeah.
But it's, again, like you said, it's doing what you love. I've got the running joke that I've got at the minute is, because again, these conversations are happening more and more. The running joke at the minute is, you know, I grew up, you know, my mum telling me that you can't live your life in your imagination and you can't spend your life playing games. And I'm now in the opportunity where I'm like, Mum, watch me.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of fun that I've got on the Facebook page on where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because again, a bit like what's the why? We're like, where's it going? And this is I've been quite public in where I want to take this.
Yeah.
Because again, everybody is so used to the, a shop only exists to make money. Now,
Right.
you go into a shop, you spend money. Oh, it's expensive. Oh, well, that's the economy, and whoever's paying whatever, and it's off-putting, if you know what I mean. You go into a shop and you see the workers in there, on minimum wage, but you see the boss man, driving, whatever, and wearing fancy shoes and stuff, and that's off-putting. And I don't like that model of capitalism. Yeah. But if there's, and I see this in myself, if I see a company or a business that's doing something really cool, I don't care how much I'm paying. I like what they're doing. And I figured I like that. I like knowing where my money's going if I'm spending money at a business. And that's what I wanted to do this. And am I pushing the barrel a little bit? Maybe. Yeah, probably. Like, am I talking too big? Absolutely. But the conversations I had from young people, and I'm talking, 18 to, 25, they've come in and they're like, I love how you're doing this and this, and I love this plan and this plan. And when I have those conversations, I'm like, I don't care who I piss off talking about my big pie in the sky, whatever. Those conversations of inspiring those young people to dream big is like totally worth it. But I would love to,
this is something that I wanted to discuss on this, on the podcast, because I've owned a shop, right? So as a comic shop owner, cards and all that and gaming, I understand, doing that. I understand being an artist, doing comic books. I understand running events, right? And a lot of things, because I'm a freaking, the great thing is that I like to do whatever I can do that I'm interested in doing. And I like the fact, and I put my hand up as many times as I can if it's available, and so, that has allowed me to experience a lot of things in life. So when I saw this, I didn't even read it. I just thought it was kind of interesting. But now, have you heard about this? This thing here?
So I've met Hobby Lord a couple of times at a couple of expos in the South Island. These guys are top notch. Like, I absolutely love these guys' work. I love what they're doing. And when I saw this article come out, man, I was so excited, because I'm like, yeah, and just like what they're doing is perfect. Like, as an employer,
hold on. Let's have a watch of the video so everybody's up on it, because I'm not on it either. So we can all get up on it, and then we'll find out what's talking about here.
I'm from Hobby Lords Dunedin, and tonight we have our big launch event. Our launch event is just a celebration of everything hobby and of our entire move. And because we've invested every dollar to support our community and build this amazing space. So we're going to be launching multiple different locations. So we've got Invercargill, we've got Christchurch, Wellington, we've got Palmerston North, and Auckland North and Auckland South. We're basically building a system that is state of the art. It's unheard of in Oceania. It's a huge leap of innovation, and we've been spending the last year and a half building it. So that allows us to kind of expand at this rate and at minimal cost to us. The big thing for us is our staff happiness, our staff morale, making sure they're looked after. That was a huge thing for us. So from the get-go, we've instituted unlimited annual leave, unlimited sick leave. We check in with them, we make sure that everyone's okay. And there's honestly a real business reason for it. It's a subconscious way of getting to customers. If you can tell if someone's actually happy, you can tell if someone's actually sad. Because it comes across in their mannerisms. And we wanted our staff to be looked after. If anything happened to them, we want to let them know that, hey, you're looked after, you don't have to worry. So that was a huge thing for us.
So let's look at this article, right? So a new company offers unlimited leave and sick leave to employees. This just came about 3-4 days ago. Hamish McNeely from Stuff is reporting on this. It's a new store offering unlimited leave and sick leave to staff has been inundated with applicants. Now, so I don't know much about Hobby Lords, so I'll get you to tell me a bit in a minute. So Leah O'Neill is the managing director of Hobby Lords which officially opened. And so this is like a franchise store. So they're looking at 6 other further franchise stores, right? So the store specializes in trading cards, games, tabletop. Now, so he's been in the branches and in corporates. I've seen how burnout is a massive thing. I've been through burnout. It's not fun. It's one of the worst things you can be in. Your body just crashes on you, and it's not a good place. So, so he's talking about, like, let's see, more than 150 applicants, right? So what I've seen right now, across New Zealand, and it's really sad, right? And here we go. So I'm just going to put that up. Justin saying here, he's a really nice guy. We brought my son's D&D set from him. Cool. So what I see now, COVID has left people feeling like not that they don't want to work anymore, right? And that they don't need to work anymore because they enjoyed 2 years of not being working anymore. And I knew when we went into lockdown, the 40 days was fine. I was happy with that. Afterwards, I was like, this is going to be really bad for society. This is going to be really bad for, because, like I said, I'm someone who's just suffered from depression most of my life. And so I understood how bad this was going to be for people, especially in the art scene and creative scene, where you couldn't, be connected to people. You couldn't go out and all this. And I was like miserable. And I knew other people would be miserable as well. But what the downside of that has been, a lot of people don't want to work anymore. It's like, they've looked at everybody and said, why the hell should I work and not be able to afford paying, and so now we see a lot of businesses that can't afford to have, employees because they demand more money than that is available from the stores. And so when I looked at this, right, I can understand what he's trying to do and stuff. And I looked at it and I was like, there are people out here who just don't want to work, but they're looking to be babied, right? In the workforce. They want to be babied by businesses. They want to be on their phones at the workplace because they're so addicted to social media and to Facebook. So if you can't provide that, they think you're freaking, that you're in their space, that they deserve to be allowed on the phones. And so that sort of little things. And so, as someone who has been an employer, right, I was like, if there's 150 people out here and all they care about is unlimited leave and sick days off, that's 150 people that aren't working for other people or aren't willing to work for people who don't offer that. And that's their they only want to work for something that rewards them. But it's like, now, like that also means that there's 150 people who are relying on the dole to survive, because it's kind of it's
messy. It's really bloody messy. And I don't think we still, they talked about the long tail of COVID, and when I think about the long tail of COVID, I'm not thinking about the sickness.
Yeah,
I think about the psychological long tail of this. And as far as we haven't even started to we haven't even started to see the full blossom of the after effects of COVID, let alone the long-term fruit of the COVID lockdowns. And I think we as a society have to be very forward-thinking and very, very clever and smart and well planned out on how we as a society are going to handle this, because, we've got kids that, as they just started school, or they were in school or in high school, and then they got locked away. We've realistically been locked away for 2 years, a year or two, and the impact that has on children's minds and society as a whole, we haven't even started to see the fruit of that yet.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to just show up for a week, and I'm not going to show up for a month because I don't feel well today, sir. I'm and here's the thing, right? When I was, and this is my year of because I moved away to New Plymouth to do 6 months to finish a degree because, you know, somehow my credits got lost and I wasn't able to graduate. So after I separated, I looked up and said, where can I go and finish my degree? Because I worked hard for this frigging thing and I'm going to go complete it. So I was in New Plymouth for 6 months. I did a course. I spent, you know, I put all my effort into it, you know, and got my, you know, the best everything I could get for that. However, the same place I was living, I was with a guy, and here's me walking around with a stick because I have a back injury, I have chronic pain 24 hours a day, right? And so neck and spine injury. So next room down there is a guy who's ultra fit, no injuries, but every month he'll go to his doctor and say, hey, I have depression, I need this. And he's, you know, that's his excuse. And I'm like, I'm having trouble walking and I'm in pain 24 hours a day. And you, as a fit 20-year-old or 25-year-old male, are making excuses on how to stay out of working. I feel this. So when I saw this, I was like, there's got to be a balance. You know, what he's actually done is expose society right now, right? Yeah, because he's basically and in his own thing, he's saying he's trying to do well by society, by people. But what he's done is expose the lack of responsibility of people for themselves, for their own well-being, for their own benefit, for their work. Because when you stop working and you do it on purpose, your mental health tells you that it's such a negative thing, man. Like
you have to work. You absolutely have to work. And a bit like yourself, so I always find it really interesting, right? The most entrepreneurial, hardest working people I know are people that have full rights to get written off. Like yourself, you're talking about the back. So I've got a stress condition called conversion disorder. So my brain doesn't consciously recognize stress. I don't know if I'm stressed or not. But when my stress levels get too high, I can't walk.
Right.
I spent 3 years on crutches. I lost 80% of my mobility due to this stress condition, and I'm constantly in pain. Like it always hurts, and you know I've had the fatigue over those 3 years while I was recovering and going through all that was absolutely huge. And it's just like, and I've had people that are like, bro, you should just stop. And I'm like, no, because I can't. My mental health cannot afford my pain to get in the way of me working and providing value to society. Because humans, we're social creatures. If we fundamentally, on a fundamental, emotional, spiritual, psychological level, do not feel like we're contributing to the human tribe, our mental health goes out the window. My mental health can't afford for me to stop. And people that do stop, and I understand the frustration because I've seen this before. I'm like, or you've got no excuse. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's almost, bro, your life isn't hard enough. You haven't had enough problems in your life, bro. You need to actually get up and go. Because, and I was talking about this the other day with some people. Is in society we've lost the fight in our society, and this impacts young guys in particular. And I was having a chat with this old guy, and we were talking about how young guys under 20, all the way down to boys, like I've got a couple of kids, and my 5-year-old loves nothing more than to roughhouse with dad, like roughing around and growling and play fighting, stuff like that. Absolutely love it. And that goes all the way up to you're about 25, I reckon. From about 25 onwards, it becomes about mental combat, if that makes sense. And this is also why people like the nerd community, because there are those aspects involved, but it's, you need to struggle against your life. It's a bit like a chicken. It's like a chicken and egg. If you've ever watched a chick hatch out of an egg, if you help the chick get out of the egg, you kill it. It will die. It has to fight out, because it's that fight for life that drives us as an organism. That's what drives us. So this whole, so many people got to sit back and, do nothing for a year from COVID and all this other stuff that's gone on. As a society, we've lost that fight. And I think that needs to come back. So, I mean, example being, when I get to the point of being able to have full-time employees here, I have every intention of being able to, pay them well. And I really like what Hobby Lords has done in that. But it's also one of those things where it's like, right, you want the unlimited sick leave, you want the unlimited time off, you want good pay, right? You are bringing your all to this.
Right.
I've got a list of like about 25 audiobooks. If I employ somebody, I'm like, right, I'm paying you well, but on your downtime, you're spending at least an hour a day listening to like these 20 audiobooks if you want to, keep working there, because people need that fight and that drive. And this is why, on my website, my Facebook page, I talk about like building something big. It doesn't matter that it's not realistic. It being unrealistic is actually why it's so important.
You got to have something to aim for, right? I mean, like if you got nothing to aim for, then you just, you waste your time. Like, I mean, I've got a plan. Like in 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a board game coming out. That's my plan, And so that's what my big aim is. I mean, we're doing comic books all the time now, right? We're about to release another one, but my big thing, my life goal is to put up a comic book related board game. That's it. Once I get it done, I've achieved that, right? And anything else comes after that, I'm good. But the 5 to 10, because I'll be 60 by that time, right? So I got to get it done before I'm out here. But that is my aim, that at least there's a, it's basically about, now you get to read my comic book, you get to see the artwork, but now you can hang out with your friends because of my comic book and play the board game that my comic book is paid for. So it's that whole community aspect that's part of the comic book culture, right? And
100%.
so, and it's sort of bringing everybody around the table and going, oh, this is what this character does, and so on. I read this in the comic book, right? So it's like matching it up with that. But I mean, it's a goal. You got to have goals, and I see this where there's all these people that don't have goals anymore. And all due to COVID, right? I mean, there was a lot before that as well, but this now it's like there's employment signs up, worker wanted, this is the money you'll get, and nobody wants a job. And I'm like, I would right now kill for that hourly rate if I could work, because but I'm held back because I can only handle 3 hours a day. So, but I mean, when I look at that and I go, you guys are paying what, $23 an hour, $22 an hour? I used to freaking work for $6.50 an hour when I was your age, and that you're getting that much now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's ludicrous, but you're right. You need a goal, and I really like the idea that you need an impossible goal that is bigger than yourself, because how many times in life have you? And students that go through uni and finish uni are very familiar with this, is you get your degree, you get your master's, and the next day you're not a student, and suddenly you're right down at the bottom of the hill again. And it's like, what do I do now? And that depression that kicks in when you achieve a goal. And that's why I think you need an impossible goal. And I think back in, thousands of years ago, I think this is why religion existed, because people understood you needed an impossible goal that you couldn't actually reach, but it wasn't so impossible that there was no point doing it. You still strived to do it. And I think having that mindset of always having a bigger goal is really important. But I think where we've lost in the Western world is we've gone like full individualistic on it. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
You need a community goal. You need a like a societal goal. Like I remember growing up and, being shown books of Mars and Jupiter and, how we were going to take on the solar system. And I thought that was really cool. I'm like, yeah, by the time I'm 30, 35, we'll be off to Mars. I'm sitting here 32 going, I'm like, the cars still aren't floating, bro.
Yeah. And Justin's right here, right? Like, so many people wasted so much time during lockdown. I mean, during lockdown, right? I was doing podcasts at that time. Every day I'd wake up and say, "How's everybody doing today? How's their mental health?" I do interview with creatives in my local community. I'd jump up there and do interviews because I felt like we needed that to get going. What are you guys doing while you're doing this? And we'd have one of my local friends who's a gallery owner. She goes, I have, because I can't open my gallery, I'm selling from home now, right? So I'm actually selling to the entire world now, rather than just selling from my store to the local community. I'm doing this. And then we'd have all these amazing stories about people who changed but kept working, but the problem now is that's also made people go, I'm just going to buy online now. Right, rather than support local.
The double-edged sword. It was a huge double-edged sword, and like I said before, we haven't even begun to see the long-term effects of this. And I think this is where us as and this sounds so up myself, but us people that are like us that are leaders in the community and thought leaders in the community actually need to put some solid effort into this kind of stuff. And again, this is one of the reasons everybody became so isolated, and it's almost like as a country we forgot how to communicate with one another in real life.
Right.
This is one of the reasons why, like, again, behind the store, behind the expo is the no. Like, yes, there's there's the market and there's the nerds and there's the cosplay and all that.
Yeah.
Is that actually the reason why? And it's kind of no. I think there's a bigger reason why, and it's like no. We actually need to jumpstart the social engine in our country where people start to connect again and build friendships again in real life, because you need it in real life. And that's kind of where I think, well, that's where my thinking goes on why do we do anything. It's like, no, there's the bigger reason. And for me, the bigger reason is jumpstarting communities, because so many of them fell apart over lockdown.
They did. I mean, it's like you can look at your own cities, and like most of the major ones, at least one little street will have no business. The business is closed down. I'm looking at my, here in Whangarei, so many stores have shut down. Like we were just counting over the last 5 years, but COVID made it even worse. It doubled it. And so you could look around and go count, oh, that was that. Now that's gone. That's gone. Oh, that's gone. That's gone. But there is an uptick for people to come back out and start businesses. However, the employment thing is letting them down. So you can't, you're not having employees who are, and then having employees that demand so much more from their employer. You can't really afford that when you're starting a business. A small business can't afford, friggin' salaries, right? And then,
mate, you did right. Like, it's one of those things where it's almost like people have an attitude of, like, people look at me as a business owner and they're like, oh, well, he sells this for X, and we see all these posts up on the Facebook page on, all this food he's selling. Oh God, he must be doing all right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they don't see the power. They don't see the rent. They don't see the lease. They don't see the insurance. They don't see the marketing budget. Like, I've had a few people there who are like, oh, you need to hire somebody to work at the store so, you can have a couple of days off. It's like, I can't even afford to pay myself minimum wage yet.
Yeah, that's it. And I think a lot of people really don't understand what it takes to run a business. And so because they don't not understand that, it's the same thing in comics, right?
100%.
People have no idea how comics run, and they have this high expectations and of what they expect to be paid, page rate. They have no clue. And I'm like, because I've been in this for ages, because I've come from business, running business, and I've worked for franchises, I've worked for individual small businesses, I've worked for pubs which have hundreds of people every night. But then you look at some other places where you have like a handful of people a day come through, and you kind of think, well, you can't expect people to pay you what the government says is a living wage, because they can't afford to pay the living wage, especially now when everything costs so much. And that's why it kind of weirded me out about that whole with Hobby Lord. But I mean, it is everybody gets to choose what they want, but if you start doing that, it sets a bad precedent all across the board. Do you remember like about 10-15 years ago, there was this whole thing how to get millennials to come and work for you by providing a playpen kind of environment. And now all those, and if you look at all these huge CEOs and those companies, they're firing all those people they're employed.
Bro,
they're
they
going
kindergartened the workplace.
Yeah. And this is the offset of it. We'll give you unlimited things if you come and work for us. It's like, if you're a nerd, and if you're going to work for a nerd job, you just love to be there and be happy to hang around with like-minded people. Like if I got employed at a comic shop and I'm a comic dude, whatever you're paying, I get to read comics and talk to comic people. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a whole bunch.
I do feel bad for him because the amount of tire kickers he'll get. Because even in Timaru, it's so bad. It's the question that I'm not hiring. I'm not hiring, and I'm not going to be hiring for a little while yet. I've got some stuff to tie down first, but I probably get on average in Timaru, and there's only 28,000 people in Timaru. I get probably on average 2 to 4 job requests a day that I'm open, and it's funny because it's just because again, this is where this other guy the guy at Hobby Lords is going to struggle a little bit, because the irony being is me starting off, if I'm employing somebody, I'm employing somebody whose skill is in admin. Their skill is in, bookkeeping and, covering my weaknesses.
Right.
That's who I'm going to be employing.
Right.
I don't care if they're a nerd or not. If they're good with customers, they can cook some of the food, but if they can, cover where I'm falling over, with things I struggle with, the records and bookkeeping and, all the gritty stuff that no one in business likes doing. Because I'm an entrepreneur type. I don't like writing. I didn't know. But
I'm the same.
People don't understand that.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same. I hate bookkeeping. I hate business side of things. But I understand it. Doesn't mean I like it. I'd rather just be creating, And I hate filling out forms and stuff.
Oh God, it drives me up the wall. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to employ nerds, but nerds is me for being a solo owner operator. No, if I'm employing somebody, I'm paying somebody well, and they're doing a lot of work that I can't do. And you can't really, as a small business, and a lot of people don't understand this, as a small business, you can't afford to employ your perfect employee until you're over 10, there's over 10 people in your team. If I got to the point where I had, a warehouse-sized nerd shop, hell yes, I'm employing nerds that can speak on every single fandom to work on the shop floor. But that's a couple of decades away, man, before I can get to that level.
Yeah.
Until then, it's got to be people, again, like you're saying about having a good team, and that's where I'm aiming towards, is being able to employ a good team behind me. So, but yeah, a lot. This goes over the heads of so many people. I barely ever talk about it because it just goes over so many people's heads.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's hard to get people to understand that the market has changed, that running a business is tough,
It's not
because
easy anymore.
yeah, and there are so many challenges out here to whatever you try to do, and so like whenever here's the thing, right? Everybody wants, when at the moment you put on an event, everybody wants to be perfect, right? And everything what people don't understand is when you put on an event is that there's so many moving parts that you learn through experience. It's like your first three are teaching you how to run, then the next two are getting better, and even then you're still going to struggle because these are all events and they're all things change, right? What was good last year isn't going to work this year. What was good 3 years ago is good now again, and you don't have a clue about what's going on. So you need
100%.
You need all the support you can get. That's what I'm trying to get to, is that you need support to help. If you want something good in your community, you got to support people like yourselves and myself and many others, right, across New Zealand who are doing these small events and putting so much time and effort into it. Like, I mean, it takes me 6 months to put on a 5-hour event on one day, right?
Yep. 100%.
And so because it's so much organizing, but nobody sees all the time spent back and forth. And so whenever I see other people like yourself, right, across New Zealand doing that, I go, we got to help them get, support them as much as possible.
And it's massively appreciated, mate. And I really bloody well appreciate it. Like, it means a lot. Yeah. And now from talking with you, I know you understand exactly how much it means, because it's huge. And I think this is one of the other things that I would like to encourage is like you inviting me onto this podcast, which is absolutely amazing. And I have to say, you've done really well, by the way. So massive kudos. You've run this really bloody well. Is something that I think would be really cool is like a business, like more business support within the nerd community for other nerd businesses and like content creators and stuff like that. So like, jumping the gun a little bit here. Like, yes, we're doing this nerd expo, like on, in March, but something I would love to organize at some stage is almost a nerd, like a nerd entrepreneurs conference, like getting people like myself, yourself, and like all these other people. So like the expo we're doing is, it's a market, it's a nerd market, there's stall holders and the attendees.
Right.
What I think would be really cool is a, day or 2-day conference for all the stall holders themselves to go back and like get like myself, yourself, like all these other businesses, like the guys that run the Hobby Lords and the people over there. If all of us entrepreneurs in the nerd market actually ourselves got together for a weekend to compare notes and go back and forth and network, I think that would be massively beneficial. I'd get a massive kick out of it myself, but I think that would provide a lot of value.
I think,
the business doing the business.
Yeah, we've been that's been my key with this thing, right? With Punchcast, has basically been like to across Australia and New Zealand is to, especially in the comic scene, right? Because that's my jam. But like the thing is to show people what's out here. And then my other thing was, which I've been trying to work out with Shane, is that like there is a bunch of independent comic creators. So my thought was like, they can't all go to different events for New Zealand because it's friggin' costly, right? So one of my things was like, what if like, at each event there's somebody who, who's in that community, in that city, represents New Zealand comics, right? So they we all chip in whoever's comics are being sold. We have a budget and go, hey, so we're going to hire that store, and that person's going to be there, and they can sell the comics. And then the next lot, oh, it's going to that one now, and then that one now. So it's all represented. Now you have a amazing sort of like a representation of all New Zealand creatives at every single friggin' small event around New Zealand, and then as well as the big ones. But it's like a traveling exhibition, kind of thing of the works. And so and then if you go the next stage, of course, there's all these people who are involved in this, I guess the nerd scene, right, or geek scene, where we're all like involved in putting these events, because a lot of times you do need someone to say, hey, what if I run into this problem? What do I do now, right?
Yeah, because like where's that support? Because like all the lessons that you and me have learned through our endeavors. Yeah. Did we learn those from anyone, or did we have to rush that brick wall a couple of times before we figured it out?
Yeah, I mean, like, I had to open myself up to a lot of people and get information for people I didn't know what they did, because they just went, oh, I also do this. Oh, really? Give me some information, and like, I mean, we did stuff like this thing. This actual design came from the idea behind this, right, came from a children's worker, right? Yeah. Safer cities for children, something like that. Yeah. And she's a friend of mine, and she said, because she was looking after the kids at our first year event, and she said, look, those coloring stuff you're putting out there for the kids, it's too hard for them. So I went away. Next time I thought, you know what I'll do a chibi design of this character, right, of my main critical character. And then we ended up with 2D drawing of the character. And then that later on went like, what if I turn that into a toy, right, a figurine? And then I reached out one of my friends. He said, oh, I know a friend who actually does the 3D designs. I said, okay, cool. So I paid that guy to do it, right? Otherwise, it would be just be a 2D drawing. Then it comes back to me, and then I go, I met someone, and said, oh, my kids enjoyed coming to your event. And, what had happened was like the bottom of my walking stick had fallen out, right, my cane. And I was looking for it, and this lady goes, what you doing? So I'm looking for this bit. It fell out. She goes, oh, what does it look like? My husband could do it on 3D. I go, really? Yeah. I said, okay. Oh, by the way, my kids had fun at your event. I went, oh, that's good to know. Okay. And I said, oh, hey, how about this? Since your husband does 3D designs and stuff, and would he be interested in like doing some free so we can give it away for the kids? Right. And so he does a whole bunch of these, like, I've still got a couple to pick up. And then he does these for free. Right. That's so cool. And then next thing is like, I go to my friend, I go, hey, I would love to have this, I would love to have this painted up, because it'll be cool to see, to see people what it looks like. And then so she's, then she basically goes, okay, yeah, okay, it'll cost this much, sweet. And then we're gonna like do this event in September, which we didn't end up doing. And now we went from a 2D drawing event that started for the kids to be able to draw coloring in for the competition at the event in like 2020 to 2023, having a physical airbrush artist, top class, featured on a friggin' American airbrush artist, right, magazine, do this, who's a local friend of mine, who's a local artist. And only because of a little suggestion from someone who works with kids.
Butterfly effect, man. Butterfly effect. It's freaking amazing.
And imagine all the other things that could have been stopped. And I know too. Who cares? Who cares about that? They should just get used to it. If that was my attitude, because that's what I mean. Like, if you're doing events and stuff, man, you got to be willing to learn from and taken input. And I think that's one of the things like
100%.
you get from like other people in the community, because there is so much talent in our community. And the sad thing is that people don't know it, because there isn't opportunities for them to hear about it or be involved in. And
Exactly.
I mean, just think about this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people got involved in the creation of this one thing, right?
Mate, when they say 2 heads is better than 1, mate, and like this is one of the things I absolutely love, especially on the networking and B2B networking, stuff like that. Like one of the things I've started doing is about once a month I do like a team meeting in here. Now, like I said, we don't really have a like a full structured team or anything like that, but all the customers and people that are involved in this is like, right, let's get together for lunch on a Sunday or whatever else, and we'll just sit. Because I tell you what, the coolest things that you can ever witness is like 6, 8, 10 people at a table with pen and paper. Add caffeine, add sugar, you add a few hours to that, and you watch the wild stuff that comes out of that. And it's like you said, that six brains that have gone into that. Yeah. And it's so cool. It's really cool. And the scalability of this is insane. Yeah. And it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's why you got to support what's you got to support entrepreneurship, right? Because you can't. It's going to benefit so many people if you support the idea that's good, that's coming up, because you've got so many people with so much skills that will be able to not only be able to pass their skill on, but themselves get upskilled, right? Which means then the community is so much more better for it, because everybody's learning from each other, and now you're able to pass that on for the next gen, and whoever's coming up in the years to come who are interested in doing that. I mean, think of all the kids that come to these events, right? Who see what the future of their work can be. Their doodles can become so much more. And that's what I really love about, the small community events, is because you actually get the one-on-one discussions, chats. You get to meet people, and I think that's what really, Nuggets here saying that Drawfest is doing well, and he's right. I mean, I had Drawfest way back in 2015. Right, seems so long ago, but at my store, here in Whangarei, from Auckland, because I knew them from Auckland, and because I'd interviewed them and went to the event. And Susan's an amazing friend who's sort of like the co-runner or runner of the Auckland one. But the whole zine thing is taking off again, and it's getting bigger and better. I mean, one of the guys here in Whangarei, Make Comics New Zealand, they put that they put together this thing up here in Whangarei, and let me just bring it out. Make Comics, and that's that involves my friends, a couple of my friends as well, and that excuse me. So this is brought so many more people together out of their homes and bedrooms. This one here, right? Because it's just why am I saying that and I'm not seeing the proper one for it? Oh, here we go. So here, right? So second Sunday each month, right? This is here in Whangarei. But what has done is there's more than there is 194 comic people in Whangarei. So we know that these people have come, from elsewhere around New Zealand and getting involved with it. But of course, there's also, you're talking about Drawfest here. Let me just bring up Drawfest. And you got the Drawfest Auckland, and what they do, and all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So all the promotions, things that are happening around, and you get art battles, meet the artists, stuff like, things like this. You know, I haven't heard of Art Battle of Auckland, so there'll be something interesting to figure this out. But the Drawfest scene in New Zealand is really huge, you know, and then you've also got the New Zealand comic scene. I mean, this is the ones that I'm involved in, right? So, but there are so much more, you know, that's around.
And I think it's one of those things where, like I said before, we haven't even begun to see the start of it, and it's the potential is like astronomical. Like this is like you remember the Marvel movies in like, you know, the early 2000s versus now, and we think that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't think that's anything on the level of creativity and content that's going to come out in the next 10 years, man. Like it's actually incredible. And it just needs to be, you know, encouraged and fostered and, you know, resourced. And yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
I mean, that's why I say there's no reason to not get involved in art right now. There's every
100%.
reason. All the tools are there. Everything's available to you. Just, I mean, unless you got a really bad library, the libraries are so friggin' amazing now. You can get friggin' 3D printing at the library now. You know, you can use the internet for so much, and there's so much available. But also there is let me just find this. So there is this other group where you can actually get like free education in the arts, right? Is it design? Yeah. So for us here in Whangarei, it's called Whangarei Design School, which, you know, one of the guys who actually runs the here we are. Where are we? Design School. Let me just get this right. So one of the guys that opened the, you know, behind our, oh gosh, where are we? Here we go. It's called Whangarei Design School. So the Design School Whangarei. So one of the guys that actually is involved with the card fight. No, I was there card fight. The card merchant Whangarei store.
That's cool.
Runs,
That's
you know,
really cool.
is, you know, one of the tutors here. So you get free education to go and learn what you love if you're a creative person. Fashion, cosplay, right? Animation, web design, graphics. So if you're a school leaver, you can go do that, you know? And I think there is no reason not to put your hand up and go, hey, you know what? I'm going to go and do this course and now do what I love. And that's why I get a bit bummed out when I see people just stay home, do jack all, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so you've got here, Nugget says, our local library in Wellington has a recording studio you can use for free for 2 hours. Freaking recording studio in a library.
Mate, like,
you know, what would we done?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, mate, like me and so many others, what we would have done for that in our youth, man.
Yeah.
Like, even now, like, dude.
Right.
So no.
And that's why I think it's like, you know, people are using excuses for when they shouldn't have any excuses, right? So, you know, that's what frustrates me is like seeing people come up with excuses. Why are you not doing something with your life? You know,
correct.
You know, why aren't you doing anything positive? Why are you miserable? Well, the reason a lot of people are miserable is because they're not active, right?
Correct, and that's what a lot of it comes down to. A lethargic life is a depressed life, mate. Like,
yeah,
it's I don't know if it rings true for people that, you know, have struggled with mobility and you value it so much more. I don't know, but it's if you sit down and you don't do anything and you don't contribute anything, like you just I never allow myself to get into that space because I can't handle myself in that space. And I like anybody else going through that. Like that's a rough patch, but it's funny because so much of the time, all you need to do is get up and move. And you don't, and that doesn't necessarily mean going for a run or anything else. It's literally, like, I mean, in your scene in particular, literally picking up a pencil and just move that thing across the paper and then let that evolve from there. And yeah, no, there's just engaging with the white community.
Yeah, so Nugget's saying, with the back with the library thing, with having a recording studio. I mean, seriously, friggin' a recording studio, man. Has their rehearsal there every week. I mean,
that's so cool.
And like, as an uncle of a nephew who is a musician, who's a singer-songwriter, right? I mean, I would love for him to have that situation, but the cool thing is for him, because he's part of a religious organization, and so as a family, they're able to practice at the church. They're able to learn at the church, which has a recording studio. They're able to have that influence, not influence, but that mentorship there for their skills. And I think he came second in the Rock Quest here locally because he has a singer-songwriter, with their band. And the thing is, like, he's in an environment where they're encouraged to,
correct.
think.
Well,
right?
it's an encouraging word, like I said, and there's so many people out there that, like, for want of an encouraging word, mate, and like like I said before, is a lot of these people, all it takes is one person to go, I believe you can do this, and like to everyone watching this is like, you can, like, you guys can do this. It's like like one of the things that I find funny is just like realistically, bro, we're no smarter, skilled, talented, or wiser than anyone else out there. Like, we're not. I might bash me more than you. I'm not special. Solly isn't special. Like, there's nothing I've done is like, there's no superpowers, there's no magic powers, there's no this, that. It's literally just, you make a choice to do the thing, and even when you don't feel like doing the thing, the next day you do the thing, and then you do the thing, and it takes time, and it's taken us a long time. And I can tell, like, the words you say, like, I understand, like, it's taken you time to get to this point, and that's okay. That's okay. It's you do the thing every day. Whatever the thing is, you just do it. And you get good. Like, it's, I think,
you gotta it's a lot of like forcing yourself to do things that you just you feel like it's just not wanting to do, but you just got to do it anyway, because if you do it, you're gonna feel better doing it, right? If you
100%.
work, you're gonna feel better because you're gonna get something out of it. And I think because a lot of people don't, we're finding a lot of people not doing that, they feel miserable. And I think I've been in that situation where I've felt miserable 100%. For 2 entire years, and then come out of it and had the opportunity to say, do I take the opportunity or not? Right? I mean, I was offered a buyout, right, 5 years ago, and I was like, you know what? I always wanted to do this, so I could take the easy money and be bought out and be well, or if I keep at it and do what I want to do in the long term, it'll not only benefit me, it'll benefit others. The value of my stocks will, be higher value because I stuck with it.
Where's the adventure at, bro? Like, this is we're in a community that is so based around games and stuff like that, and that's how I view life. I view life like it's all a game, and I picked the insanity difficulty. Why? Because I want to see what this PC is capable of, man. I want to collect all the skins. I want to collect all the trophies. I want to see how hard I can run this character, and I want to see how hard I can get my PC on the scoreboard, bro. Like, and it's just, if you view it like, it's a bit like my eccentric shopkeeper NPC like gag. It's if it's a game, play the best you can play. How good can you play that run through? How well can you clock this game? And it's fun and it's challenging and it's exciting and we don't know what comes next. And that's the adventure. You can always play it safe. We can always play it safe.
Yeah.
But where's the adventure in that? And where's the cool story in that? And like, I want to be able to tell really good stories that are real, that actually happened. Like, there's people that have got grandparents and their grandparents used to tell them really cool stories, and that happened. What stories are we telling? And that's the challenge, is what stories do you want to be able to tell? And that's exciting.
All right, we're 2 hours and 40 minutes almost. So what I do here, right? At the end of every podcast and so on discussion, I give my guests 3 minutes, 2 minutes to 5 minutes to like words of wisdom things. So you get your final word is basically it. Like, and so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to think about it, and then we'll put you on solo, and we'll let you do that. But while you're thinking about that, I'm going to grab this, and we're going to watch a bit of Warhammer while you're thinking. Let me just grab. Hold on, and let me just grab the right thing. Blink. And here we go.
Yes.
I do not need to tell you, old friend, that even in victory will likely meet our end here.
Then our duty is done.
Blast that thing from the void!
I'm trying to make my it's brilliant. It's such a full-on thing. I've been slowly working my way through it, and this has been like about 2 months. I've been trying to do that. It's so good, but it's only 20-minute episodes. Yet I've watched like 18 or 25 episode anime, and I've been okay with that. At the same time, I've been trying to work my way through this because there's so much in that series, because you learn about a lot about the mythology, the concepts, the worlds, and you learn about these characters. It's really good. So, like I said earlier, that I've been interested in seeing what this uptick in 40K. One of the other things is like I always thought 40K was really dear to get into, but when I was down at my mate's shop the other day, I noticed that you can have a $35 entry, pack.
Yeah.
Or a $90 or $130. So
Yeah.
you could get into the game at the same amount it costs to get into a friggin' trading card game. So that really blew my mind away. So I'm actually thinking of getting that because I like to get stuff from everything. I mean, one of everything. So because I think it was last year, I ended up, and finding this at an op shop, and I almost came to sell it, but the guy who was going to buy it ended up ditching on me. So I'm gonna put it together myself, right? And
Oh yes.
So I had three those whole pieces here for 3 sets. So I'm like, yeah, it'd be pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
but
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Careful with the tools when you give them. When you nick yourself cutting them out, man.
my dad
We'll with it in the end.
Yeah, talk about modeling and stuff, right? With tools, like my dad, I'm the one who made him stop. But my dad, because I was a terrible kid, my dad used to be into modeling, like really, really good, and painting and stuff. And I just put it off him because I came along and destroyed them all, sadly, because I thought they were supposed to be played with. I don't know that. He didn't explain. This is what happens. Explain to your kids, right? If you don't want them playing with a $100 friggin', $200 modeling kit, that they're not supposed to be played with. They're there for show, And but one of the things about 40K is that it's very artistic.
Huge.
Not only this is what the thing is. It's a game. It's a board game. It's models, but it's also painting. And all those guys are like freaking amazing artists. They're painters. Every one of these guys that get into painting these, they're very skilled at painting miniatures. I can friggin' go and paint a wall with a scene, and I've done that quite a few times, right? Sunsets and all that. But I would have a hard time trying to paint one of these in great detail, right? So I think that's another plus, for that, for people to realize is that there's art in Warhammer, and then you've also got this amazing animation as part of that as well, and there is, and so the nerd, the nerd culture, the geek culture is, out here. But imagine when I was watching that, imagine that person who thought of the idea for this said, "Oh, nah, maybe somebody else can do it. I'm not going to do it." And boom, no 40K forever. Or maybe something else, right? And that's where we're all at when it comes to like creativity, is that you can either just sit back and watch somebody else do it, or expect somebody else to do it, especially with organizing events, right? Or you get off your butt and you take a run at it. If you fail the first time, who cares? Every first time you're going to fail anyway, but you're going to learn from it if you're willing to learn, and then keep doing the next one. So that's been my struggle with this thing, with events, is that, if you keep doing it, you learn, and more people, will see, don't wait around for somebody else to do it. If you've got the idea, if you have the idea, run and do it yourself. 100%. So, Solomon, you ready to go for the solo?
Yep. So there's a couple of things, and as far as at some point in time, give yourself permission to sit down with yourself and think about, when you were a kid, what did you need? Who was the person that you needed growing up as a kid? And what were the tools, the resources, the things that you needed as a kid? And then be your own hero. Be your own hero to your childhood self. Ask that person inside you what you needed, and then be that for yourself today. I think, and the other side of that, especially on this particular topic here, is the rule of 80%. If you've got an idea give yourself permission to give yourself an 80% pass rate, not 100%, because 100% is perfection. And nobody, even the best in the world, can't do perfection. So give yourself permission to give yourself an 80% pass rate. If it's 80% good enough, that's the pass rate. And like we were just talking about, and as far as how many people out there have had amazing, how many ideas in the universe have been lost to the fact of, oh, I don't want to do that because what if somebody else comes up with that idea, or what if I can't do it good enough? Give yourself permission to be your own childhood hero, but also give yourself permission to be bad at it for a little while, but give yourself permission to actually learn how to do that, because everybody learns somewhere, everybody starts somewhere. Give yourself permission to go through that learning and growing process, because none of us started good at anything that we do. Like it's like a child. When a child is first learning to walk, if it can't walk immediately, what does it do? Falls over, gets back up, falls over, gets back up, falls over, gets back up. Give yourself permission to fail and to learn from the failures and learn those lessons, and give yourself permission to go through that process. You're not going to let a baby beat you in a pros like that. They don't give up. A baby will never give up trying to learn how to walk, and give yourself that same permission to do that. And just start, not tomorrow, not next week, start. And your future self will thank you for it, and your childhood self will also thank you for it. Be the hero that you needed. Be your own hero. And yeah, it's what we're all trying to do. And if we all do that, the world will be a much better place. And yeah, so there you go. If that's worth anything to anybody.
That's awesome, man. No, that's brilliant. I think that's really, yeah, that sums up what we've talking about perfectly. All right. Thank you, Solomon.
Yes, mate. Absolutely loved it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you, Nugget, and thank you, Justin. Thank you, Ross, for hanging out and watching. And I've just got a message here from Nugget. Yep, we need to do those 10,000 bad drawings to get those great drawings from amongst those bad ones. And
100%. 100%.
Awesome.
No,
thanks, bud. All right. Ka kite, everybody. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, subscribe, and thank you, Solomon, for hanging out and taking time out to come do this. Really appreciate it. But as you get closer, come back on, and we'll talk about how you're going, in the new year, how you're going with the progress. Maybe have, such a teams or some artists that are going to be showing up. I'm sure Ross is getting sorted out, and Ross can come up as well soon and talk about what he's doing. We haven't had it on here on this, on Kiwis and comic books, but it would be cool to have him on.
I'd love to come back on at some stage, mate. Absolutely, thoroughly enjoyed it. I think you're doing a great thing here. So well done to you too.
All right, thanks, guys. Catch you later.